Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show here on WKYC. Thanks for spending time with us over the next 30 minutes. We're going to get into everything Cleveland sports. I'm Jay Crawford. First up on the docket today, how much credit does Stephen Vogt deserve for keeping this Guardians ship afloat? Jason.
There's an update to the Quinshon Judkins legal drama going on down in Florida. What is it, and what does it mean about his future with the Browns? We're going to try and figure it out. G.
I am G. Bush, and football season is here, but we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to tell you which Cleveland Cavalier actually would make the best football player. You'll be interested to see who I pick. McNuggets.
Shedeur Sanders makes his first start for the Cleveland Browns tonight. All eyes are on Shedeur, but there are some other rookies that you should be focused on as well. We're going to tell you who and why an undrafted rookie might be the biggest star of the night. But Jay, let's start with Stephen Vogt, who deserves a ton of credit for not letting this Guardians team crumble despite some pretty unfortuitous circumstances this season.
A month ago, they were 15 and a half games behind the Tigers, and they were just off a 10-game losing streak. And everybody I know had begun the funeral procession.
Yep.
The season is over. They have no chance at winning the division. That's gone. And it looked like with 8 teams at the time in the running for 3 wild card spots, the Guardians not long ago, out of 15 teams in the American League, had the 13th best record. They were 2 from the bottom. There were 2 teams that had worse records than them. Now all of a sudden, they're 6 games behind the Tigers. They've won 8 of the last 9 series. They almost had a no-hitter as they swept the Mets in New York at Citi Field. Stephen Vogt is got to be considered for manager of the year if they end up getting a playoff spot. How much credit does he deserve, Jay, for keeping this thing together? It was done a month ago.
Quite a bit. When you add on everything you just said, and when you add the gambling stuff on top of it, and losing your closer in the fashion that they did, losing the starting pitcher, Luis Ortiz, who had been up and down, but certainly you looked at him and thought, okay, they've got something here. They've got something they can build with for years to come. When you lose a key piece to your rotation for the season, when you lose probably the best closer in baseball like that, it's a punch, and it's usually a knockout punch. And for him to be able to keep this team together, there are certain things that they do that drive me crazy. We've talked about them at length on our YouTube show. We just talked about it with Chris Rose a few minutes ago on our YouTube show. The platooning, the benching guys, it's enough to drive you mad. But when you look at the overall product, you can't dispute what the job that he's been able to do, keeping their head above the water, keep them focused on the day-to-day. It gets to be cliche, but it's the only way that you can survive a 162-game season and not get swallowed up when you're 15 games out, when you've got these gambling allegations, when you're kind of looking around going, who's next? Were you involved? Do you have anything to do with this? Are we going to lose anybody else? It's been a very, very difficult season, and he has managed to keep them together. Overall, I think he's done a terrific job.
Yeah, listen, it's a tough situation. He could have folded the 10 up. Everybody could have been out of here. We questioning whether or not that you got the right people at the top of the organization. People were starting to question whether the Guardians had slipped into a place where they had been, were the Browns and some of the things that they had with some off-field issues. But I give them credit. Stephen Vogt pulled it together. They've won, like you said, 8 out of the last 9 series. They had lost 10 in a row. And at that point, you're saying, oh, man, we can find ourselves not out of the wild card, but we can have one of the most disappointing seasons we've had thus far. You trade Shane Bieber. You don't have Ortiz. You don't have Clase. But yet and still, we had Chris Rose on the other show. They keep finding a way to win. I don't know how, but they don't really have any dominant hitters after you get past Quan and Ramirez, but they're finding a way. Gavin Williams looks like he's rounding his way back into the prospect that they thought he would be. And, even Tanner Bybee hasn't pitched all that well this year. So they're finding ways to win games that really make them make up a lot of ground. And I looked at the wild card, and I'm like, man, we talked about the wild card. They might actually catch the Tigers. Forget the wild card. They might get the Tigers. They even play them down the stretch. So to me, he got to get a lot of credit for it because especially with all the adversity and stuff happening, Jay, you got to give him a lot of credit for keeping the team together and having them still continue to play hard.
It's really been remarkable, particularly when you look at the fact that he did lose Clase and Ortiz. And we haven't really talked a lot about this because we're focused on this season, but this is going to set the organization back. You took one of your best players, and now he's not going to, in all likelihood, he will not pitch in Major League Baseball again.
Yeah.
And they get nothing for him. Imagine if you started poaching the best, one of the top 3 players off your roster from every Major League team and say, we're just going to take him and you get nothing for him. That leaves a mark, and we're going to feel that down the road.
It's
Maybe
crippling.
not so much this year, but we're going to feel it.
We mentioned on the YouTube show that the way that they do it is they trade guys with a couple of years left to control. They stockpile 6 more prospects for him. You hope 2 or 3 of them work out. They lost that opportunity. Clase would have been traded at the trade deadline.
I believe he would have. A lot of relievers were moved this
Yep.
year. He is among the top relievers in baseball, certainly amongst the top closers, and that's gone. Before we move off this topic, I want to ask you a question. I haven't asked you this before, but I'm curious. Chris Rose on the YouTube show was talking about how baseball today is micromanaged from the front office.
Yeah.
And many of the managers, I know Aaron Boone in New York, there's a lot of situations. I could just go on and
Kevin
on. I
Cash
think Cash in Tampa.
Yep.
Do you have any idea on the platoon thing in particular? Is that coming from Antonetti and the front office, Chernoff, or is that coming from Stephen Vogt? Because it seems like they're married to it, and it doesn't make sense to me.
I can't say definitively one way or the other.
Okay.
It did not happen as much under Tito. And is that because Tito had the juice of who Tito was?
Sure.
And he said, I have the lineup card. I'm going to do it my way. And now you have a young manager who sort of has to take the input of the front office. It very well may be. I don't have any evidence to back that up. But when you look at it, when you look at the decline of switch hitters in baseball, we've talked about that before. It's the lowest number among American players it's been in 50 years. Now it's all about platoons and right side, left side. I hate it. I think it's garbage. I think there's guys. I think Kyle Manzaro has more than proven he can handle left-handed pitching. Put him in the lineup every day.
Yeah, and there's one sure way to make sure that you get better at it is practice.
Keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
We saw a couple of years ago, Josh Naylor couldn't hit lefties at all.
Now look at
Made
him.
it a priority of his,
Yeah.
and he handles them just fine today. All right, on to the big story of the day, and that, of course, is the Browns' preseason game, number 1 of the 2025 season. We can't wait to see Shedeur Sanders. We talked at length about Shedeur and what we expect from him in the preseason game tonight against Carolina. If you want to take a look at that, you can go on and check that out on YouTube on our page later. But what we want to talk about now is the other rookies, and there are many that will play in this game tonight. Guys, which rookie are you most excited to watch tonight?
I got to go with the rookie who we don't never talk about, the top 5 rookie, the guy that we, took in the first top 10 pick. I'm going to go with Mason Graham. Listen, he may not be the sexiest pick. I once said, listen, I'm quitting if they take him over Travis Hunter. I'm still working. So therefore, my wife said that was not a possibility. I'm just going to have to look crazy. But Mason Graham, what is not crazy is you look at his tape, and his tape is good. He is a penetrator. He can get in the backfield. He has good balance. He can stop the run, and he's going to be unleashed a little bit here. He lost about 10 pounds from rookie minicamp to regular camp. He's more quick. He's more efficient, and he's going to be up there, and he's going to get what I call the Myles Garrett stimulus package. Myles Garrett is going to be the guy everybody's looking at. So you're going to get not one double team. You're going to get single blocked. And you're going to be asked to penetrate, get upfield, and cause havoc. That wasn't what he was supposed to do in Michigan, but you can see his lateral quickness. He gets down the line very well, uses his hand well. You know what they say about wrestlers. Wrestlers leverage, all that good stuff. I think Mason Graham is going to have a real sneaky good rookie year, and I'm anxious to see what he can do in this game.
If I'm honest, I'm excited to see all of the rookies. When we coming out of the draft, I think all of us were excited about what the Browns did at the draft. I know the Quinshon Judkins thing is a huge disappointment. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're going to make me pick one, it would be Carson Schweschinger, just because this is a guy who, I said earlier on our YouTube show earlier this week, I think Cleveland's going to fall in love with him. He's a guy who plays with his hair on fire. He goes 110 miles an hour at all times, and I just think he's one of those heart and hustle guys that fans are going to embrace early and cling to. He's got huge shoes to fill, having to replace JOK. Obviously, that was a devastating loss that this team really didn't see coming a year ago at this time. And to use the first overall pick, think about what they could have got for the first overall pick in the second round. So the first pick of the second round, coming off the first round when all the teams sort of digest their draft boards, they're making offers, they're trying to move up, and the Browns said, no, we like this kid so much. It's an unusual pick. It's not a premium, high-profile pick as being an off-ball linebacker. But when you look at the need on the defense, when you look at how hard he plays, I just think he's going to be a tackling machine for this team.
We need one, that's for sure. I think we've devalued the linebacker position considerably over the last decade. I'm with you, Jay. I just can't wait to see all of the rookies. I want to see Luke Floria, an undrafted free agent. Local fans know him from his days at Menor and then for his college career at Kent. All indications are he's had a very good camp. He seemed to really build a nice rapport with Dylan Gabriel. I think that, the guys that you mentioned, unfortunately, the guy I most want to see, we won't see because of the legal situation. I can't wait to see Quinshon Judkins. I think he is a phenomenal talent. I think he's going to translate to a transfer to the NFL game. I really wanted to see what he looked like, and unfortunately, we don't even know. He's not signed.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk more about his legal situation in the next segment. But if I had to pick one, being a Bowling Green guy, and I thought you were going to take him because he went to your high school, he went to my college. I love Harold Fannin, guys. I love him. I think he's going to have an impact immediately. I think he's probably going to be the reason that the Browns are able to move off of a guy that they've had for a long time that they thought was going to be this huge star. We saw glimpses of it, but we never really saw it come full circle. I think Harold Fannin is going to be a star in this league. He led all pass catchers in Division I football last year with most receptions and most yards.
Yeah, he was.
Or most receptions, perhaps. But one way or another, you've got a tight end that can catch the football, and we know how much Kevin Stefanski loves that. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to see what kind of rapport he builds with Shedeur Sanders. And I would not be surprised if he caught 4 or 5 balls tonight. I think he's going to be a big target.
Luke Florio is going to get a touchdown tonight. I'm calling.
You think?
It. I'm calling. He's been a story to camp for me.
All right, good. I'd love to see that.
He's been a great story in camp, G. And you could go with a couple other guys we didn't mention. Dylan Sampson is going to get a lot of carries tonight as one of their lead backs. But the guy I'm most excited to see, and we know Shedeur Sanders is the obvious attraction, but it's another one of the undrafted rookies, just like Luke Florio, that Shedeur's going to be throwing to tonight, and that's Gage Lavardian, the undrafted rookie out of South Carolina. He started as a MAC player, transferred to South Carolina. He scored the lone touchdown from Dylan Gabriel in preseason. He's caught a number of big plays downfield. Unlike Floria, Jay, who's more in the slot working underneath, Lavardian is a guy that's trying to stretch the field. And to Jason's point from the YouTube show earlier, we want to see Shedeur take some chances. Don't just be a check down, Charlie. Let's push it downfield and see what you can do. That plays right into what Lavardian does and brings to this Browns team. And he's a guy tonight, I know he's an undrafted guy, fighting for a roster spot in this not-so-proven Browns wide receiver room that I think can make some noise. And Floria and Lavardian have been the two guys that Shedeur's thrown the most to throughout camp. So there should be some built-in chemistry tonight. Very excited.
Is Deontay Johnson playing tonight? He said, Stefanski said the starters might not play. But if I'm looking at it, if
I think he should.
If Shedeur Sanders is out there and Deontay Johnson is out there, he's a proven player. Yeah, might want to look for him a little bit.
Deontay should play. I don't know that he is going to. But if I were them, I think he should play.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. We're taking a break. I mentioned it just a minute ago. When we come back, we're going to talk about Quinshon Judkins and his legal status. There was a move earlier this week that raised some eyebrows. We'll try to parse that for you and let you know what comes next for the youngster when the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show returns on WKYC. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. No Quinshon Judkins tonight for the Browns as they open the preseason against the Carolina Panthers. This is a young man that certainly showed during his last year at Ohio State what he's capable of doing. He's a tremendous player on the field, but he's got some issues off the field. And now we learned Wednesday that according to Florida law, you have a right to a speedy trial, which is 60 days. His attorney filed a motion to waive that right. And now it could be any time in the next 175 days from the time he was charged. I was a bit surprised by that, Jay, and I think you were too, because the thinking here would be, let's get this process over. I have a theory as to why they may be drawing it out. What do you think is going on here?
I think our theories probably align. I think I was very surprised by this, and I was with you. I thought, he's not going to play until this is cleaned up. Now, there's a couple different ways to clean it up. Could they be working on a deal? Could they strike a deal that maybe wasn't going to be done in time before his court date? It's just, I don't know.
Where she drops charges.
Where the charges get dropped.
Right.
It could be. I don't know. I don't think he's going to sign a contract or play for the Browns until this is taken care of. And Jimmy Haslam said last week he does expect Quinshon to sign a contract with the Browns.
Was he cautiously optimistic, he said?
No, he was pretty definitive that he believed that he was going to get that he would sign a contract. Didn't put a timetable on as to when. If this thing plays out and there is no deal in this thing, then they just really sort of wrecked his rookie year, I think. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he suits up before this is finalized, but I don't think that would be unprecedented if he did. I think that they have to let this play out. The NFL has to then weigh in. He'll likely be suspended. We saw that last year with Mike Hall. Even if the charges are dropped, the NFL could still say, nope, something happened here. You're going to sit for 5 games, 6 games, whatever it may be.
Right.
So I just wonder, I think that there's more to the story that hasn't come out yet, I guess is the best way.
Yeah, this, when this happened, I don't know all the details, and obviously it's still ongoing investigation. But this said to me, hey, don't get anxious to see Quinshon Judkins soon. Because like Jason said, this is just the legal part. To them, he has to do 3 things before he can play. First, he has to sign a contract. Then he has to figure out what's going on with this case. And then he finally has to deal with the NFL and them opining on what type of punishment it is. So all of those 3 things need to happen, and I don't think none of them are going to start the ball rolling down in the clock to starting until he gets this thing figured out, whether that is they give him a sentence or whether it goes to trial or whether there's some kind of settlement out of court. Who knows? But when I saw this, I was like, Dylan Sampson.
Yeah.
You talk about Shedeur Sanders got an opportunity. Dylan Sampson got an opportunity, and I think he was a 4th, 5th round pick himself. So it's some opportunities to go around, but I wouldn't expect to see Quinshon anytime soon.
Which is such a shame because he's a talent. Now, you mentioned Sampson. I like him an awful lot, too. Yeah. And what he did in the SEC at Tennessee should turn some heads, and hopefully he's got a chance to really make a mark on this football team because we're going to need some help at running back. Yeah. I'm with you, Jay. I think that, and I've been saying this all along, I believe that there probably are conversations going on behind the scenes between Judkins' lawyers and perhaps attorneys for the young lady that's at question here about either dropping charges, can they come to some kind of an agreement where he can at least put the legal portion to bed, because you're exactly right, G. There's 3 components here. You've got to handle the legal component, and that is why they're pushing this off. They've been unable to get to it in 60 days. Maybe they think if they get an extension for another 115 days, they can get it done in that window. Then they've got to, of course, sign the contract, and then they've got to wait for the league. Now, this is a bad look on the Browns because for the 2nd straight year, they draft a young man fairly high out of the Ohio State University that faces charges of domestic abuse. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike Hall got 6 games last year. Was it 5 or 6 games? I'm expecting it to be in the same range here this year for Judkins. And that puts you into week 7 if it ends up being 6 and they get it settled before the season starts. I don't know what the case is, but at this point, if you're Judkins 5 last year, thank you, Jay. if you're Judkins and the Browns, you want this over with as soon as possible and get this behind you. That's why I was so shocked that they filed for this extension, which to me, the only reason you would do that is to hope to get it to a settlement, keep it out of the courts, check that box, then check the box of the contract, and then face league justice.
Yeah, because Mike Hall, I think the plaintiff dropped the case.
Correct.
And you can move forward.
I believe that was his fiance.
His
they
fiance.
were engaged.
Yeah. So
in the case of Quinshon Judkins, it was a girl that was an acquaintance, but they didn't really have a long-standing relationship. And what's going on behind the scenes, we don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, and we'll continue to follow it and give you updates. All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, we're going to have a little fun. Think of the players on the Cleveland Cavaliers. You can take one of them and turn them into an NFL player. Who you got? We'll give our answers next. All right, we wrap up our WKYC show with a fun topic. Of all the Cavaliers, you can only pick one. I'm taking Donovan Mitchell. I mean, the guy's an athlete. When I saw him put on the display that he did at Home Run Derby a couple of years ago, I said, this dude could do whatever he wants. And with his quickness and his athleticism and his burst, I'd like to see him as a wide receiver. I'd like to see him maybe as a safety. I think he'd be a great football player if he decided he wanted to try that.
Yeah, he's built like a football player too. Like, think about it. He's 6'2", but his 6'2" is a little different from everybody else.
Yeah, it is different. It is different. Yeah. He's thick.
The easiest answer was just traded away. Isaac Okoro.
Oh yeah,
looks like a tight end. Like that guy would be.
He played line safety,
athletic.
Yeah. Man,
I don't know. I got a few different ones that I would consider. Larry Nance, I guess, would be one just with his size. Can you imagine him coming off the edge?
Yeah. With his length?
Defensive end.
Yeah.
Or a tackle with those long arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Larry Nance.
You have to beef up a little bit.
Yeah.
If you want to play offensive line for sure.
Yeah.
But he coming off the edge, like, can you imagine him setting the edge? Like, you're not getting outside. You're not getting outside.
You're not.
Who you got,
Mike? What you got?
I got a couple I want to throw out to you. You guys tell me if you like these or not. My first thought was, well, Evan Mobley would be a pretty dangerous red zone receiver on jump balls. You can just put 6'11" Evan out there.
God, well, I hope he doesn't get hit, man.
Yeah.
That's why he
would break in half.
More realistic receiver option, though, is Jalen Tyson. If you don't know, his younger brother, Jordan, is a preseason All-American at receiver at Arizona State.
Yeah, he'd be a good
Jalen has told us in the past football was his first love, but he got too tall.
Yeah.
So maybe he still would be a little too tall, but at 6'7", he could be a dangerous threat. I also thought Darius Garland as a slot receiver, maybe a defensive back. You know, we've had our qualms about some of his toughness. Would that translate to the NFL? Sure, those questions are valid. I also think Max Strus would be a great safety. That dude plays with a willingness to put his body on the line, a fire,
and with a sense of urgency.
And he's way more aggressive and athletic than he gets credit for. He just looks like the white shooter on the court.
Hold on.
But he's actually way more aggressive and way more downhill oriented than I think a lot of people realize. And I think he, as a safety, maybe a box specialist safety, kind of a la the role Tyvis Powell played in the league, I think Max Strus might be a sneaky answer here.
We lost ourselves. I can't believe I didn't pick this one.
Oh,
the most dominant player ever. If you like Greg Olsen, if you like Jeremy Shockey, then the Vanilla Wolf himself, Dean Wade, running up the seam is dominant. 6'9", moving. Listen, Dean Wade would be unstoppable at tight end. The Vanilla Wolf spread outside. Kevin Stefanski would run reverses with this man.
Yeah, he would.
He's straight up.
He's my jet option.
He's running
sweep option.
Wildcat. He's going to return the kicks too. We talking about like Dean Wade is dominant, man.
He might be the last guy I would pick.
Dominant. He's a 72 in Madden, 72 overall. His speed is probably like a 74, but his wingspan. I mean, look, bro. I mean, listen. I got to go with Dean Wade, bro. I can't believe
it is an interesting topic. The guy that always comes to mind, of course, former Cavalier, but I would have loved to see LeBron James. I would have loved it more than anything.
I'll die on the hill. He could have been a Hall of Famer in the NFL too.
You think he could have?
Absolutely.
Wow.
You got to think, I mean, 6'8". He's a 6'8" receiver.
And think of his speed too.
Yep.
Like people, his closing speed in Golden State for the block.
Yep.
Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tonight. See ya.
Peace.